You keep waiting for the right moment, and that waiting is the thing that's quietly destroying you. You tell yourself you're being patient. You tell yourself you're being strategic. But the truth is you're terrified, and you've dressed your terror in the language of wisdom. The people who end up running your life, the people who take your opportunities, your respect, your leverage, they never waited. They moved while you were still calculating. They struck while you were still rehearsing. And the storm that's coming for you doesn't care about your readiness. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care that you needed more time. Fortune does not schedule around your comfort. And here is the idea I want you to hold on to for every single minute of this video: you are either the dam or the flood victim. There is no third option. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. He saw that fortune is like a raging river. When it's unchecked, it floods everything, tears down trees, demolishes buildings, moves the earth itself. Everyone runs. Everyone scrambles. Everyone drowns. But when the river is held back by dikes and dams built in advance, in peacetime, when the sky is still clear and nobody feels any urgency, then the same river becomes manageable. It flows through channels. It powers mills. It irrigates fields. Same river. Same force. Different outcome. The difference is not the river. The difference is what was built before the river arrived. And that's the difference between you and the person you could have been. So here are 7 dark principles for becoming the dam, for building your defenses before the storm, for mastering fortune instead of being mastered by it. Number 1. Fortune favors the bold and crushes the hesitant. Machiavelli said fortune is like a woman. Now I'm not going to pretend that metaphor aged perfectly, but strip away the 16th century framing and the underlying principle is brutally accurate. Fortune responds to aggression. It rewards the person who moves first, who commits fully, who doesn't ask permission. It punishes the person who hesitates, who deliberates, who waits for consensus. Think about every opportunity you've ever let pass. Every conversation where you should have spoken up but didn't. Every situation where you knew what to do but you held back because you wanted to be sure. What happened? Someone else moved. Someone less qualified, less prepared, less deserving, but more willing, stepped into the space you vacated. And you told yourself it wasn't the right time. You told yourself the conditions weren't ideal. You told yourself you were being responsible. But fortune doesn't reward responsibility. Fortune rewards audacity. The bold person gets the opportunity, and then figures out what to do with it. The hesitant person figures out what to do, and then watches the opportunity disappear. That's the pattern. And you've been living on the wrong side of it your entire life. Here's what this is costing you right now. Every day you wait for the right moment, you are training yourself to be passive. You are building the neural pathway of hesitation. You are becoming the kind of person who needs permission to act. And fortune can smell that. The world can smell that. People who operate from boldness can sense hesitation in you the way a predator senses weakness. They don't think about it consciously. They just know, instinctively, that you will yield. That you will step aside. That you will make room for them. Boldness is not a personality trait. It is a decision pattern. And it can be built. You start by making small, irreversible moves before you feel ready. You send the message before you've perfected it. You make the call before you know what to say. You commit to the plan before every detail is resolved. Because the details resolve themselves through action, not through deliberation. The bold person isn't less afraid than you. They're just more committed to moving through the fear than to eliminating it. Number 2. Half of what happens to you is fortune. The other half is yours. Machiavelli split human affairs down the middle. Roughly half is governed by fortune, external circumstances, luck, events beyond your control. The other half is governed by virtù, your ability, your drive, your courage, your skill. 50-50. Now here's where most people make the fatal error. When things go well, they attribute their success entirely to fortune. They got lucky. They were in the right place. They knew the right person. And when things go badly, they attribute their failure entirely to fortune too. Bad luck. Wrong timing. Unfair circumstances. Do you see the trap? If success is fortune and failure is fortune, then you have zero agency. You are a leaf in the wind. You are the flood victim by philosophy. You have already surrendered the 50% that belongs to you. Strategic people do the opposite. When they succeed, they audit their own decisions. What did I do right? What can I replicate? What skill did I deploy? They claim their virtù. They own their half. And when they fail, they do the same audit. What could I have done differently? Where was my preparation lacking? What dam did I fail to build? They refuse to let fortune take the blame, because blaming fortune is the same as declaring yourself powerless. This is the most insidious form of self-sabotage because it feels like humility. You think you're being balanced when you say, I just got lucky. You think you're being realistic when you say, the timing wasn't right. But what you're actually doing is training yourself to believe that your actions don't matter. And once you believe that, you stop acting. And once you stop acting, fortune owns 100% of your life, not 50. The 50-50 split is not a consolation. It's a mandate. It means half of everything is yours to shape. Half of every outcome is within your reach. Are you using that half? Or are you handing it back to fortune and calling it fate? Number 3. Build your dikes in peacetime, not during the flood. This is the principle that separates the dangerous from the desperate. Everyone builds when the water is already rising. Everyone scrambles when the crisis hits. Everyone becomes a strategist when they're already losing. But by then it's too late. The dam you try to build during the flood is not a dam. It's a sandbag. And sandbags don't hold. Machiavelli was crystal clear about this. You build your defenses when nothing is threatening you. When the sky is blue. When your job is secure. When your relationship is fine. When your health is good. When money is coming in. That is when you build. Not because you're paranoid, but because you understand something most people don't. Preparation is not pessimism. Preparation is power. The Stoics understood this too. Seneca told his students to rehearse misfortune while things were going well. Not to attract it. Not to obsess over it. But to strip it of its shock value. So that when adversity arrived, and it always arrives, they would not be paralyzed. They would not be blindsided. They would say, I have already lived this in my mind 100 times. I know exactly what to do. What does this look like in practice? It looks like building financial reserves when you don't need them. It looks like developing skills before your industry changes. It looks like strengthening relationships before you need to call in a favor. It looks like building your reputation before anyone is attacking it. Most people do the opposite. They save money only when they're afraid. They learn new skills only when they're unemployed. They invest in relationships only when they're lonely. They defend their reputation only after it's already been smeared. And every single time, they wonder why it feels so hard. It feels hard because you're building during the flood. You're fighting the river while you're trying to construct the dam. It can't be done. Not properly. Not durably. The time to build is now. Right now. While you're listening to this. While things are probably okay. While the water hasn't risen yet. Because it will rise. It always rises. And the only question is whether you'll be standing behind a dam or standing in the open with your hands up. Number 4. Stop reacting to events. Start engineering conditions. This is the shift that changes everything about how you move through the world. Most people live in reaction mode. Something happens, they respond. Something breaks, they fix it. Someone attacks, they defend. Someone offers, they consider. They are perpetually downstream of events. They are always one step behind reality. And they wonder why they feel exhausted, why they feel out of control, why life seems to happen to them instead of through them. The shift is this. Instead of waiting for events and reacting to them, you start creating conditions where the events you want become inevitable. You don't wait for an opportunity. You build a context where opportunities seek you out. You don't wait for respect. You construct a presence that commands it. You don't wait for the right moment. You engineer circumstances so that this moment, right now, becomes the right one. Think about it like this. The flood victim watches the weather report and hopes the rain stops. The dam builder doesn't check the weather at all. He already built the infrastructure. Let it rain. Let the storm come. He's ready. What does it mean to engineer conditions? It means you stop asking what's happening and start asking what environment you can create. You stop analyzing the game and start redesigning the board. This is pure Machiavelli. He didn't wait for political conditions to be favorable. He shaped them. He created alliances before he needed them. He established fear before anyone challenged him. He built loyalty before it was tested. He wasn't reacting to the political landscape. He was terraforming it. You can do the same thing in your life, and you should, because the cost of not doing it is that you remain forever reactive. Forever one step behind. Forever the person who deals with consequences instead of the person who creates them. Reaction is survival. Engineering is power. And you don't want to merely survive. You want to be untouchable. Number 5. The person who rises by fortune falls by fortune. The person who rises by ability endures. Machiavelli drew a sharp line between rulers who gained power through luck and rulers who gained power through their own ability. The ones who rose by fortune, through inheritance, through someone else's favor, through being in the right place at the right time, they rose fast and they fell hard. Because when fortune withdrew its support, they had nothing underneath. No foundation. No skill. No structure. Just a person standing on air. The ones who rose by their own ability, through struggle, through cunning, through building something from nothing, they faced enormous difficulty at the beginning. Nobody handed them anything. Nobody made it easy. But once their foundation was set, it endured. Because it was built on capability, not on luck. Now look at your own life. How much of where you are right now is built on fortune? How much depends on things outside your control, your job, your boss's opinion of you, your social circle, the economy, the algorithm, the market? If any one of those things shifted tomorrow, what would you have left? If fortune turned its back on you right now, would you still stand? Most people can't answer that question with confidence. And that's because they've been building on fortune instead of on virtù. They've been riding the wave instead of learning to swim. And they don't realize the difference until the wave stops. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If everything you have was given to you by circumstance, then circumstance can take it away. If everything you have was built by your own ability, then only a stronger force than you can take it away, and there aren't many of those. The path of ability is harder. It always is. You will struggle more at the beginning. You will face resistance that the fortunate never face. People will question you. Doors will close. You will feel like you're losing while others are winning effortlessly. But you're not losing. You're building. And what you're building is permanent. Fortune is weather. Ability is architecture. Weather changes. Architecture stands. Number 6. Adapt your nature to the times, or be destroyed by your own consistency. This is the one that catches smart people off guard. You can have virtù. You can have ability. You can have courage and drive and skill. But if you cannot adapt your methods to the spirit of the times, you will still fail. Machiavelli was ruthless about this. He said the most successful rulers were those who could adapt their approach to match the era. A strategy that works in one period fails in another. A disposition that serves you in one environment destroys you in another. The person who is always aggressive will win in times that call for aggression and lose in times that call for patience. The person who is always cautious will survive in times that require caution and miss every opportunity in times that require boldness. Most people have one mode. They find something that works, a personality, a strategy, a way of operating, and they cling to it. They become it. They build their identity around it. And then the times change, and they don't. And they die. Not necessarily physically. They die professionally. They die socially. They die in relevance. They become the person who used to be effective, who used to be ahead, who used to matter, and now just repeats the same moves that no longer connect. This is what Machiavelli meant when he talked about the lion and the fox. The lion fights. The fox deceives. You need both. If you're only a lion, you'll break yourself against traps you can't see. If you're only a fox, you'll be devoured by wolves you can't fight. The master is both. The master knows when to be forceful and when to be subtle. When to attack and when to withdraw. When to speak and when to be silent. When to show strength and when to show nothing at all. The cost of not adapting is invisible until it's catastrophic. You won't feel yourself becoming obsolete. You'll just notice, slowly, that things aren't working anymore. That the responses you used to get have dried up. That the respect you used to command has faded. That the world has moved and you're standing in the same spot, doing the same thing, wondering what changed. What changed is that the times moved and you didn't. Adaptability is not weakness. Adaptability is the highest form of strength. It means you are not attached to your methods. You are attached to your outcomes. You will use whatever tool the moment requires. You will become whatever the situation demands. And you will do it without hesitation, without apology, without any concern for whether it's consistent with who you were yesterday. Number 7. Never attribute your power to fortune, and never surrender it to fortune either. This is the synthesis. The master principle. The one that ties everything together. Your power, Whatever virtue you have developed, whatever ability you have built, whatever dam you have constructed, it must never be confused with fortune. Because the moment you confuse the two, you start to erode. Let me explain. When you achieve something through your own ability and then tell yourself you got lucky, you disconnect yourself from the source of your own power. You stop studying your own methods. You stop refining your approach. You stop building on the foundation you created, because you've convinced yourself the foundation was actually just luck. And so next time, instead of deploying your skill, you wait for luck to return. And it might not. And you're stuck. On the other side, when you face a setback and attribute it entirely to bad fortune, you do something equally destructive. You absolve yourself of responsibility for the fix. If the universe did this to you, then only the universe can undo it. So you wait. You complain. You explain. You become a narrator of your own misfortune instead of an architect of your recovery. Both errors, claiming fortune for your success and blaming fortune for your failure, lead to the same destination. Passivity. Powerlessness. The flood victim mindset. The strategic mind does something different. It says, I built this. Fortune may have provided favorable conditions, but I made the decisions. I took the risk. I executed the plan. This is mine. And when the strategic mind faces failure, it says, Fortune made this harder. But it did not make it impossible. What could I have done differently? What dam was missing? What channel did I fail to build? The strategic mind never lets fortune off the hook for its failures, and never gives fortune credit for its victories. It holds on to its own agency with both hands. Because agency is the only thing fortune cannot flood. Fortune can take your money. It can take your position. It can take your relationships. It can wash away everything external. But it cannot take your ability to assess, to decide, to act, and to build again. That is the dam that never breaks. That is the virtue that fortune cannot touch. And that is what I want you to understand at the deepest level. You are not powerless against the river. You never were. You just believed you were. And that belief was the only dam you ever needed to build, the one inside your own mind. So let me bring this all the way back to where we started. You keep waiting for the right moment. And the people who destroy you never waited. The storm doesn't care about your readiness. Fortune floods everything when unchecked. But fortune is not your enemy. Fortune is a force. A river. A current. It doesn't hate you. It doesn't favor you. It simply moves. And the question is not whether the river will rise. It will. The question is whether you will have built the dam. Not during the flood. Not when the water is already at your door. Now. In this moment. While the sky is clear enough that you can still see what needs to be built. The 7 principles. Fortune favors the bold and crushes the hesitant. Half is fortune, half is yours, claim your half. Build in peacetime, not during the flood. Stop reacting and start engineering. Rise by ability, not by luck. Adapt to the times or be destroyed by your consistency. And never give fortune credit for your victories or blame for your failures. These are not abstract ideas. These are architectural instructions. These are the blueprints for the dam. And the dam is not a metaphor. The dam is the person you become when you stop waiting and start building. The person who doesn't flinch when the weather changes. The person who doesn't scramble when the ground shifts. The person who has already lived every catastrophe in advance, and who meets the real one with cold, steady hands. That person is not born. That person is built. And the construction starts the moment you stop waiting for the right moment. Machiavelli gave us the ruthless art of mastering fortune instead of being mastered by it. He showed us that the river can be held back, that the storm can be survived, that a single person with enough virtù can stand against the entire current of circumstance and refuse to move. That art is not a relic of the Renaissance. It is alive. It is practical. And now it is yours. So here is what I want you to do. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not when the conditions improve. Right now. Pick one thing in your life that you've been waiting to address. One situation where you've been telling yourself the timing isn't right. One dam you know you need to build. And start. Imperfectly. Incomplete. Unsure. Start anyway. Because the bold move you make today, incomplete and trembling, is worth more than the perfect move you never make tomorrow. And if you understood anything from this video, drop a comment that says I am untouchable. Not because you are. Not yet. But because you are declaring that you will be. That you are done waiting. That you are done being the flood victim. That you have chosen, starting now, to be the dam. Fortune is a river. Virtù is the dam. And you are the architect. Build.